Some men build empires. Others bury their legacy with their own hands. And sometimes, the one they underestimated most is the one holding the shovel. It was 2003. The factory I worked at shut down. I didn't panic. I'm a machinist, sharp, reliable, known for my work. Took me less than a day to get hired again. The new place? We'll call it Spiral. It looked promising on paper. Small, specialized tools, high precision work. Owner operated. Which sounded great. Until I met the owner. His name was Dick. And it fit. Man was in his 60s. Started this place in his garage, built it into an industrial park. Rich as hell. But rotten to the core. Treated his workers like dirt. Unless you were useful. I was useful. After a year, the floor supervisor quit after a fight with Dick. So what does Dick do? He looks at me and says, "You're in charge now. No raise. No contract. Just pressure." And just like that, my golden cage snapped shut. Dick was a snake with a Rolex. He loved to talk, to brag. And since I was now in charge, he talked to me. I learned things. Like how he cooked his books. Spiral paid rent to the industrial park. But both were owned by Dick. He charged Spiral so much, it looked like it barely survived. All fake. All for taxes. And the worst part? He buried barrels of industrial waste on his own property. Because it was cheaper than disposing of it legally. And I just swallowed it. For years. A full decade. I was stuck. Every time I asked for more money, he'd give me just enough to keep me from leaving. But never more. I was working 60-hour weeks. Leading a shop with a 95% turnover rate. Even temp agencies stopped sending us people. That's how bad it got. But I played the long game. I started wording things carefully. Asking for things slowly. Eventually, I convinced him to let me use the title, plant manager. No raise. But that title? That was everything. I had no college degree. But now, I had a resume. Real experience. Real responsibility. And that was my key. After 6 months of searching, I landed a new job. Higher pay. Benefits. Spiral didn't offer anything. Not even healthcare. But there was one problem. The new company required 2 weeks' notice. But Spiral had a rule. If you gave notice, you were shown the door immediately. So I told my new job I'd give notice. But I didn't. I waited. On my very last day. I sat at my desk. The shop was quiet. Dick was in his office. I opened my email. And I wrote. One message to the head of OSHA. Another to the state's EPA office. 2 men I had quietly gotten to know over the years. I told them everything. The falsified rent records. The buried waste. Then, I added one final message. To the state's attorney. Detailed. Precise. Cold. Then I stood up. Laid my keys on the desk. And under them. One note. I quit. I never heard from Dick again. But a few months later, I got a call from my OSHA contact. $150,000 in fines. For willful violations. EPA. Dug up half his property. Found the waste. Dick cracked. Confessed everything. Last I heard. He ended up in jail. Buried. Not under toxic waste this time. But under the weight of his own greed. Revenge doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's just a quiet email. A title on a resume. And a key left on a desk. But when the hammer falls, it falls hard. And the man who thought he owned everything ends up losing everything.